Episode 288, 6 Time Wasters.
You're listening to the very best podcast in the world on health, wealth, and happiness. Please remember to leave a review and share with all your friends and family. And here is your host, Lars Hilser.
Welcome to Hump Day. Welcome to the very best podcast in the world, your only source in the universe for personal supremacy through health, wealth, and happiness. So yesterday on the show, we talked about sheep and wolves and shepherds and eating and problems and threats and risks and whatever not. And today, in the course of yesterday's episode, I mentioned one very important time waster, and that is the television, which is one of the 6 that we're briefly going to touch upon today, because I think everybody that is almost hypnotically like bound to that box has got, I don't know, severe issues. I don't know. Well, at least they haven't realized that that is really a major problem, the TV consumption. So today we're going to go through 6 time wasters, which if you cut them out of your life, or if you manage to do so at least in parts, you're going to see significant improvements and time freeing up, which you can use, for instance, to, stay healthy, exercise, I don't know, work more, open up a side hustle, or start a side hustle, not open up, start a side hustle, or, whatever suits your fancy, where now you are saying, I don't know, I don't got the time, right? So before we get started, as every day, we're briefly going to go through our housekeeping chore list, item number 1 of which is, as always, sharing is caring. Which in this case means to please share these episodes. Reason being that I'm not making any money off of this, but this podcast was started for the sole purpose of really screwing with the so-called wallet rapists, which give you the same content you get here, maybe a bit shinier, I have to admit, but at the end of the day, they make shitloads of money out of taking advantage of people who are in search for improving their life. And listening to these lessons rather than those of the wallet rapists at least saves you the money. And that's, I think, an honorable pursuit that we have here. So therefore, please share these episodes far and wide. Item number 2 is, as always, views expressed here are my own and do not reflect or represent the opinions of anyone. And item number 3, which has been a consistent thing with us for the last couple of months, we had a severe, jam up of renovation work that needed to be done. And we're in the final phases, but it's ongoing, so the episodes are going to be a bit shorter, a bit more concise. And there we go. So without further ado, let us dive right into 6 time wasters, or the 6 time wasters, as the Aussies will say, of today. And number 1, I already kind of spoiled that, was watching TV. Now, I'm not saying that you could use that to your advantage, right? There is, keeping up if you need to with the news cycle, at least to a degree, is, perfectly fine. Binging something watch-worthy on Netflix occasionally is totally fine. Maybe an hour a day to kind of settle down before you go to bed or something. But spending your entire day having that thing on, blabbing at you, most of the time in such a repetitive fashion that, you ain't getting news, man. You're getting old, because it's the same thing every 30 minutes. And that kind of defeats the purpose, right? So I know a lot of you have the box running every single hour of every single day. And I used to be part of that, but I didn't get shit done, right? And that's a major problem. Plus, shit was just so repetitive that I just said, nah, I'm just going to cut out of the news cycle entirely. I'm going to be gone. I have my RSS feeds set up, which I read 3-4 times a day. And that's pretty much how I stay attuned to the world with only the feeds that I'm interested in. Procrastination is number 2, and I'm not going to go into that in any more detail except for sending you on a scouting mission to find episodes number 91, 92, and 93, which show you how to get out of the cycle of procrastination. We went through that in magnificent detail, and they're absolutely worth listening to. They've helped tons of people get out of that. I've received really quite a lot of email with people thanking me for those episodes. Item number 3 is saying yes. And I know that you're probably thinking, well, how can saying yes imply, yeah, right. How can that influence, or how can saying yes be a time waster? Well, we've been taught, or a lot of us have, to say yes to almost all requests coming onto our desks. And a lot of times when you think about it, the stuff that you get, as requests for help they can be done by themselves, right? Very easily. So one of the things you learn very early on in leadership courses, etc., is to say no when, there's no absolutely good reason for you to say yes, right? And so it's very important that you get that onto your not to-do list for, keeping your time in order, your schedule in order, your agenda in order, because a lot of times you've got an agenda set up for a day. Somebody comes along and says, can you help me with this? And you say, yes, boom, your agenda is fucked, right? And that's the point of learning to say no unless it's absolutely necessary, or you can figure out with someone together how to shorten it to a degree where it won't really blow up your schedule. Next, item number 4 is perfectionism. And that's a killer. There's the 80% rule. We've discussed it earlier here in the podcast. Can't remember the episode number. But it's insanely important that you get rid of your thrive, or of your of your drive to be perfect. 80% most of the time is good enough, right? You're going to spend an exorbitant amount of time to complete the last 20%. There's proof. There's scientific proof out there. Check the internet. So, perfectionism is something that is kind of like an honorable thing, but at the end of the day, who cares in today's world? There's no time for perfectionism anymore. Next is multitasking. That's item number 5. Now, multitasking doesn't exist, right? You've got 100% attention, you've got 100% focus, you don't have 120%, and you don't have anything left if you dedicate it towards one thing correctly. Now, I've seen tons of people who quote unquote work while watching a YouTube video or listening to a podcast or whatever. And unless this is really shitty, stupid copy and paste work, where you don't really need your brain, your attention, your focus towards that one thing is going to suffer. Now, some people have the talent of kind of intertwining it, but your chance of making mistakes just increases significantly when you try and multitask, something on the side of the one task you should be focused upon. Now, that doesn't go to say that when you have an idea or something, put it on your to-do list for later, but focus 100% on a task at hand. Multitasking is a myth. Yes, ladies. So, last but not least is item number 6, and that's worrying. So worrying is, I think, one of the worst time wasters, because if you spend time worrying about the outcome of something, you're just wasting that time. You're putting yourself in a disadvantageous mindset. And at the end of the day, worrying is like paying interest on a debt you don't owe, right? It's something which isn't there. The problem you're worrying about isn't there yet, right? And problems or challenges or situations, whatever you want to call them. I don't like to call them problems because it's such a negative term. Let's call them challenges. Once the challenge arrives, then let's start to worry about solving it, right? Then it is time to solve it. Otherwise, you're just going to be running through life, worrying about everything. And that's just going to kill any chance at any opportunity you're going to have to actually solve something. So with that being said, we're almost within our 10 minutes time frame. So we're almost pregnant. So in that sense, I hope you have a good rest of your Wednesday. And if you've already had your Wednesday, have a good night. Leave your hands above the blanket. Peace out. We'll be back in touch tomorrow. Bye, folks.